The coffee was terrible, but Marcus Hayes drank it anyway. Terminal B at Denver. International had that hollow echo that all airports get at 5 in the morning. Fluorescent lights humming. Janitors pushing wide mops across tiles. A handful of travelers slumped in chairs like abandoned luggage. Marcus sat near gate 24. His daughter's birthday card tucked inside his jacket pocket. She was turning 8 tomorrow. He'd be there this time. He promised. Flight 2847 to Boston. Started boarding at 5:47 a.m. Marcus was in Group 4. Row 9, seat C window. He liked windows. Old habit. He shuffled down the narrow aisle with his small backpack, nodding at the flight attendant, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a name tag that read, Diane. Row 9 was over the wing. He slid into his seat, buckled up, and closed his eyes before anyone could try to make conversation. The plane filled slowly. A businessman took the aisle seat, already typing on his laptop before takeoff. The middle seat stayed empty. Small blessings. Marcus felt the engine spool up, that deep rumble that always made his chest tight. Not fear, memory. He pressed his forehead against the cold window as the 737 rolled toward the runway, watching the ground crew in their orange vests guide the plane like a lumbering giant. They lifted off at 6:19 a.m. Denver fell away beneath them, brown sprawl giving way to the Rockies, snow-capped peaks cutting through morning clouds. Marcus watched until there was nothing but white below. Then he pulled out his phone, scrolled to his daughter's last text. Daddy, don't forget. You promised. 3 crying emojis. He typed back before switching to airplane mode. On my way, sweetheart. Wouldn't miss it for the world. He didn't know those would be the last words he'd send for 3 hours. The first hour was smooth. Marcus dozed in and out, his body trained to sleep anywhere, anytime. The businessman beside him ordered a Bloody Mary at 7 a.m. Diane brought it with a smile. Somewhere over Kansas, a baby started crying. Normal. All of it so beautifully, numbingly normal. Then the plane shuddered. Not turbulence. Marcus knew turbulence. This was wrong. A violent lurch that sent the businessman's drink flying. Red liquid spattering across the tray table. People gasped. The seatbelt sign dinged on. Diane grabbed a handhold, her practiced smile faltering. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Brennan. We're experiencing a minor technical issue. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. Minor. That word doing a lot of work. Marcus sat up straighter, his hands instinctively gripping the armrests. The engine sounded different. Asymmetric. He'd spent enough time around turbines to know when something was choking. Another shudder. Harder. The plane yawed left, then corrected. Phones came out despite the warnings. People started whispering, then talking. Then some woman 3 rows up started praying loudly in Spanish. The businessman's laptop slid off his tray table and clattered to the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Brennan again. We've shut down the number 1 engine as a precaution. We're diverting to Des Moines. Everything is under control. But Marcus heard what the captain didn't say. The remaining engine sounded rough, surging. He looked out the window and saw it, the cowling vibrating. A thin trail of smoke or vapor, hard to tell which. His pulse was steady, too steady. That cold clarity he thought he'd left behind settling over him like a second skin. 10 minutes passed. The plane descended slowly. The Midwest opening up below them, flat farmland. Sectioned fields, highways like veins. Then the second engine coughed. The whole aircraft shook, and the sound every pilot dreads filled the cabin. Silence. That awful, empty quiet when thrust dies and you're just a glider made of aluminum and hope. The captain's voice came back on, tighter now. Professional veneer cracking. Flight attendants, prepare for emergency landing. The cabin erupted. Not panic yet, but close. Controlled fear. People clutching each other. Overhead bins rattling as the plane dropped altitude faster than it should. Diane and the other attendants moved through the cabin. Their voices firm. Heads down. Stay down, brace position. Marcus looked at the businessman. The man was frozen, laptop forgotten, face gray. Hey, Marcus said quietly. Look at me. You're going to be okay. When we hit, keep your head down, hands on the seat in front of you. Don't straighten up until we've stopped completely. Understand? The man nodded, teeth chattering. Marcus pulled out his phone, clicked it on despite the rules. 1 bar of service. His fingers moved fast, typing to his daughter. Love you. Lily, always. Be brave like your mom. Dad. The plane dropped again, harder. and his phone flew from his hand. Outside the window, Marcus saw them. Two dark shapes closing fast, F-16 Fighting Falcons. Unmistakable even at a distance. They took up positions on either side of the 737. Close enough he could see the pilot in the left aircraft. Helmet and mask, hand raised in acknowledgement. The cavalry. But why? Jet engines weren't a security threat. Inside the cockpit, Captain Brennan and his first officer were drowning in alarms. Both engines gone, APU struggling to provide power, hydraulics degraded. They had maybe 6 minutes of controlled flight left before physics took over completely. The radio crackled. Commercial Flight 2847, this is Viper 11. Iowa Air National Guard. We're on your wing. Say nature of emergency. Brennan keyed his mic. Viper 11, dual engine failure, cause unknown. We're attempting forced landing at Des Moines International. Souls on board 147. Fuel remaining. 45 minutes theoretical, but we're a glider now. Copy that 2847. Des Moines is rolling equipment. We'll escort you in. You're doing great, Captain. But Des Moines Tower had another question. The controller, a 20-year veteran named Sarah Chen, was scrolling through the passenger manifest that had been automatically flagged when the fighters scrambled. One name had lit up her screen with a red tag, military database hit, special marker. She keyed her mic to the guard frequency. Viper 11 Tower, we have a flag on the passenger manifest. Checking now. She clicked through screens, her eyes widening. Viper 11 Des Moines Tower. Confirm if passenger Marcus Hayes, row 9 is responsive. Former call sign Reaper 23. Naval aviator decorated. Database shows extensive combat and test pilot experience. In his cockpit, Major Kyle Reeves, Viper 11, felt his blood quicken. Reaper 23. He knew that call sign. Everyone in fighter community knew it. The guy who'd landed an F-18, with half a wing missing, over the Persian Gulf. The test pilot who'd saved a prototype when the fly-by-wire failed. The man who'd walked away from the Navy after his wife died, retired quietly, disappeared. 2847 Viper 11. His passenger Marcus Hayes aboard and able to come to the cockpit. Brennan, fighting the yoke, sweat streaming down his face, looked at his first officer. Who the hell is Marcus Hayes? Diane, strapped into her jump seat, heard it over the PA. The captain's voice. Is there a Marcus Hayes on board? If so, please identify yourself immediately. Marcus heard his name and felt that old weight settle on his shoulders. He raised his hand. Diane saw him unbuckled despite protocol, staggered through the tilting cabin. You need to come with me now. The cockpit was chaos, alarms, lights, both pilots yanking controls that barely responded. Brennan looked back when Marcus entered, his face a mess of hope and desperation. You're Hayes? The fighter pilot. Was, Marcus said. Long time ago. Tower says you're some kind of legend. Can you help us? Marcus slid into the jump seat behind them, his eyes scanning instruments he hadn't read in 6 years. Airspeed, 190 knots and dropping. Altitude, 8,000 feet. Rate of descent, 1,800 feet per minute. No thrust, hydraulics failing. They had maybe 4 minutes. Talk to me, Marcus said, his voice steady. What do you have? Nothing, the first officer said, voice cracking. No engines, limited control, hydraulics going. We're not going to make Des Moines. Marcus looked out the windscreen. Flat farmland, a highway, some scattered buildings. Then he saw it. A long straight road, 4 lanes, relatively empty. Maybe. Captain, I need you to listen to me very carefully, Marcus said. You're not landing at an airport today. See that highway at 10 o'clock, about 3 miles? Brennan looked, his face going whiter. You want me to put a 737 on a highway? It's that or a field, and a field will break this bird apart. That highway is your runway. It's long, it's straight, and it's your only shot. I have, Marcus cut him off. Twice. Different aircraft, same principle. You're going to do exactly what I say, when I say it. Understood? Something in Marcus's voice, that command presence, that absolute certainty, cut through Brennan's panic. He nodded. First officer, kill every non-essential system. Give me every bit of battery and hydraulic pressure you have left. Captain, shallow left turn, heading 270. Easy on the yoke. You're flying a 40-ton paper airplane now. The plane banked, sluggish but responding. Marcus keyed the radio himself. Viper 11, Reaper 23. I'm in the cockpit. We're putting her down on Highway 80, approximately 15 miles east of Des Moines. Need you to clear that road now. Emergency vehicles to that location. Reeves's voice came back instant, professional. Reaper, Viper 1-1. Good to hear your voice. State police rolling now. You got this. Marcus allowed himself half a second of gratitude, then locked back in. They were at 5,000 feet, the highway filling the windscreen. Cars below, oblivious. Too many cars. Viper 1-1. That highway needs to be empty in 60 seconds or we're going to kill people. The F-16s broke formation. Dropped low, supersonic booms. Cracking across the Iowa plains. A sound that sent every driver on. Highway 80 slamming on brakes. Pulling onto shoulders, staring up at the fighters screaming past. Within 40 seconds, a mile stretch of highway cleared like Moses parting the sea. Captain flaps to 5. Gear down, I don't care if it's manual, get it down. You're going to touch down at 160 knots, which is fast, but you'll have the whole road. When you hit, stay straight, don't overcorrect. Let the plane bleed speed naturally. What about obstacles? Overpasses? Marcus had already seen them. There's a clear stretch 2 miles long. That's your runway. You miss that window, we're into support pillars at 100 miles an hour, 2,000 feet. The highway looked impossibly narrow from up here. A ribbon of asphalt with ditches on either side. Brennan's hands were shaking. Marcus reached forward, put his hand over the captain's on the yoke. Hey, look at me. Brennan turned. You trained for this. Your whole life prepared you for this moment. 146. People are going home today because you're about to do something incredible. Breathe, focus, fly the plane. 1,000 feet. Marcus could see individual cars now. Pulled over, people standing outside. Phones raised. The highway rushed up at them. Airspeed 165. Sink rate 1,200. You're high, nose down slightly. 500 feet. Steady, steady, you're lined up perfect. 200 feet. Brennan's voice, barely a whisper. Oh, God. You've got this, Captain. The wheels kissed asphalt at 161 knots, a screech of rubber that echoed across farmland. The plane bounced once, hard, then settled. And Brennan stood on the brakes. Everything. Full manual braking, thrust reversers useless without engines. The 737 thundered down Highway 80. Eating road. Emergency vehicles racing alongside. And Marcus watched the overpass ahead growing larger. Calculating distance, speed, physics. They were going to make it. Or not. 50 yards from the overpass, the plane shuddered to a halt. Complete stop. Silence except for alarms and people crying and then, suddenly, cheering. The entire cabin erupted. Diane was sobbing into her hands. The businessman beside Marcus's empty seat was laughing hysterically. Brennan turned to Marcus, tears streaming. You saved us. No, Marcus said quietly. You did. I just reminded you how. The evacuation was textbook. Slides deployed, passengers streaming out onto a closed highway in the middle of Iowa. Emergency crews everywhere. News helicopters already circling. Marcus was the last one out. He stood on the asphalt, looking up at the 737 sitting impossibly on a highway, and felt his phone buzz in his pocket. Somehow it had survived. One text from Lily. Daddy, where are you? Party starts soon! He typed back with shaking hands. On my way, baby girl. Had to take a detour. Love you. Major Reeves landed his F-16 at Des Moines 20 minutes later and drove out to the site. He found Marcus sitting on a guardrail, away from the crowds, watching the sun break through clouds. Reaper 2-3, Reeves said, offering his hand. That was the most beautiful piece of flying I've ever seen. And you weren't even at the stick. Marcus shook his hand. Just talked him through it. The hell you did. You saved 147 lives today. Reeves paused. Why'd you leave? After everything you accomplished? Marcus looked at the card in his hand. His daughter's birthday card, slightly crumpled. I had something more important to do. I had to be a dad. My wife, she died when Lily was 2. Cancer. I was deployed. I missed it. Missed everything. I couldn't miss anymore. Reeves nodded slowly. She'd be proud. What you did today. Maybe, Marcus said. But my daughter's going to be proud that I actually made it to her birthday party. That matters more. They got Marcus on a charter flight 3 hours later. He landed in Boston at 4 p.m., took an Uber straight to his ex-sister-in-law's house where the party was. He walked into the backyard still wearing his rumpled clothes, looking exhausted. And Lily saw him and screamed, Daddy! And ran across the grass and jumped into his arms. He held her tight, this little person who was his entire world. And she whispered, You came. You really came. Always, he said. I promised. She pulled back, looking at his face. Daddy, why are you crying? Because I love you, he said. And because I'm really, really happy to be here. That night, after cake and presents and pin the tail on the donkey, after all the other parents had left and Lily was asleep upstairs, Marcus sat on the porch with his sister-in-law, Jennifer. She'd seen the news. Everyone had. That was you, she said, on that plane. He nodded. And you didn't tell anyone? You just walked away? There were news crews. I didn't want, he trailed off. I just wanted to be here. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Sarah would be so proud of you. Not because of what you did on that plane. Because you kept your promise to Lily. Because you chose her. Marcus looked up at the stars, at the infinite sky he used to own, and smiled. It wasn't even a choice, Jen. She's everything. Inside, Lily slept with her new stuffed unicorn. Her birthday wish come true. Her daddy was home. And in Des Moines, Captain Brennan was hugging his wife, telling her about the quiet man from Row 9 who'd saved them all. And on air bases across the country, pilots were raising glasses to Reaper 2-3, the legend who came back for one more mission. But Marcus Hayes, single father, Row 9, was exactly where he wanted to be, at a little girl's birthday party, keeping a promise. Sometimes the most important mission is just showing up.